Built for builders, from beginners to pros, this is where great backyards begin. Welcome to the Ultimate Deck Podcast, your source for backyard building tips, product breakdowns, and pro advice from the front lines of the industry. Here are your hosts, Shane Chapman and Wade Laurent.
Hey, it's Wade and Shane back with the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Today we're talking about how to choose between a patio or a deck. I mean, it's right in the name. You'd think we would just lean deck all the time, but that's not always the case.
It's not always the case.
Yeah.
I just love this format. You were just saying before we came on here, you're just like, this format's so good. Yeah. And it's like, we're 4 in. It's like, that's a good call.
The other thing that people are going to love about this format, maybe, is that I think we're going to roll these out 2 a week now. So you're going to get a new episode every 3 or 4 days as opposed to once a week. So smaller bites, but more frequent bites.
Sure. It's like how you'd eat an elephant.
Right. Yeah.
Here you go.
One little tiny bite at a time. Anyway, this isn't completely relevant to us. We're in the hardscape world now. We sell patio stuff too.
Yeah, so this was a couple of years ago we made that move.
We don't have to be so torn about this anymore. But sometimes people ask, what do I do here? Or maybe they don't ask. Maybe they're planning to do like a ground level deck somewhere. And there's like, I'm going to do a ground level deck here. What decking should I use? And a lot of people come back with like, don't worry about what decking to use. Don't do a deck at all there. Do a patio. Put some pavers in there. That makes way more sense.
It was, like we sort of fought this for years. We always had the argument of like, well, you can do it with a deck and you do steel framing and make sure you put crusher dust down. And like we had all these tricks to keep moisture off of the lumber and ways to increase the longevity of it.
Yep.
But like the whole time we were doing it, it was like, well, it should be a patio.
Yeah.
Like if you're right on the ground,
I think
it should probably be a patio.
That's the easy go, no go. If this thing is on the ground or is going to be less than 12 inches, less than 8 inches on the ground, probably if you're going to make a pros and cons list, you're probably leaning towards a paver patio just about every time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about rot. You don't have to worry about the airflow. It's probably going to work out to be a bit cheaper. Depends on how much of it you're going to DIY, I suppose. But
so that's probably your biggest differentiator,
yep.
right? So when you go to do a patio, there's not a lot of people that have the tools to do this properly. And one of the tools to get started is a machine, is a bobcat or a skid steer or some type of excavator of some kind.
Yeah.
And so like, well, that's a pretty tough way to start. Not everybody has one of those.
Yeah.
But do you have a skill saw? I was like, well, I do have that. And a hammer. And I was like, yeah, there's one in the toolbox over here. And it's like, okay, well, we can get started on the deck now.
Yeah.
So
no heavy machinery or specialized tools required to do a deck. You can slide down to I hope you don't do this, but you can slide down to your local box store and grab some lumber and have a deck built that afternoon, or at least framed. Like you can start right away without any major planning. Well, that's not fair. Major tools or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the whole process of a patio does require major excavation and major bed prep and hauling in of aggregates and whatnot. And so it's just something that you can't really do in a Toyota Tercel. And
yeah. But that said, that doesn't change when it's the right time. It's just like it changes the dynamic of whether you and your friends are able to do this or maybe you're bringing some help in.
One consideration.
And maybe the help is only in the prep. It's like bring somebody in and be like, listen, I don't, I want to lay the pavers myself and I want to put the sand in myself and do all that. And it's like, maybe you'll find a company that would prep it for you then move on, but maybe not.
Yeah. And so then the other answer is, well, if it's above a foot, then it's heavily weighted in favor of a deck. Like rather than building up a base for doing paver patio, certainly you can. Certainly people do like nice stoops and stairways and whatnot and retaining walls and stuff like that. But the shift in the balance of power shifts towards the deck as soon as you get up off the ground, just in costs and ease of install and looks, I think even.
And also maybe longevity too, because if you start putting in retaining walls and you got imagine you got 2.5 or 3 feet of base in there. It's like, well, maybe you packed it properly, but nothing packs the ground as good as time.
Yeah.
And so it's probably going to shift and it's probably going to move. And then now it's going to look not perfect. And are you going to pull that up and then redo the base and then put it back down? It's like, I don't know. I think if you're foot in the air, I'm probably saying you should build a deck most of the time.
Yeah. So there it is. If it's over a foot, heavily 95% chance, 95% vote to deck.
Probably.
If you're below a foot, I'm going to say 50-50. If you're below
6 inches,
6 inches, 95 patio.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, that's almost for sure how that would
That's
go, right?
That's how we do this here.
Yeah, that's what I think makes the most sense. You know, obviously decking is a little bit more forgiving in the fact that, like, if your kid falls on a deck, they're likely not going to skin their knee that bad. That's not a blanket statement. Some of the products that are out there have real good traction, right? It sounds like we had somebody crash in the store here the other day.
That's what I hear, yeah.
Right. And so, you know, if you land face first with your arms behind you on apex decking, you can cut your forehead. That can happen.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's the aesthetic choice too, which is to each their own on this, whether you want the look of hardscape and the feel. It's obviously harder on the joints, harder on the feet. But on the other hand, it can look more natural and more beautiful. You know what? I think the perfect backyard has a combination of both.
I really do too.
Yeah. If you don't have to choose, do both. Like nothing beats having if you look at Premier Outdoor Living on Instagram, they do an amazing job of blending both.
Yeah.
Decks, patios, covers, you name it, all into like nice, seamless, functional designs. Those look the best, man.
They really do. And when people are like,
and greenery.
I want this like lower area for lounging and seating and maybe having a fire. It's just like, well, don't even look for fireproof decking. This is silly. Why are you just do a patio?
Totally.
That's the right call.
Yeah.
You're not going to wreck anything if you have a fire going and somebody delivered some bad lumber and it's all sparky and it's like, well, that's okay. It can land on the pavers and you've no danger. No.
And if you're going to build a garden box, don't be like, can I composite decking? Can I do that? Just grab some hardscaping.
Yeah.
Nice little retaining wall, like a little garden wall. Do that.
Makes the most sense.
Mix and match.
Yeah.
They're both available in grays, browns, tans, reds. Like you can find color palettes. And if you can't do it yourself, find somebody to help you or go to a store like ours where you can see both options. You can compare them side by side to find colors that work together.
That's right.
Some websites will have mix and match things. Like, I don't know if, now that I say that, who would actually do that though? I don't know. Like, so in the world of like Old Castle, they own Belgard and Moisture Shield, but I don't know if they have visualizers that will mix and match both. They might. You could check into that.
Yeah, I don't
know that for sure.
Because they operate the two companies completely separate.
Yeah, like I know the Belgard rooms they have is really cool, like for visualizing, seeing like different kind of hardscape setups, and then being able to AR it, like augmented reality into your backyard. It's really cool, but I don't think there's ever a decking component with it.
Add a deck feature.
They should get on that. They should do that. Anyway, if you're in the situation of trying to choose between these two things, hopefully this helps. If it's really low to the ground, go patio. It just makes sense.
Yeah, and a lot of the companies now have pavers that are really nice. Like you can do porcelain and you can do like a smooth surface or rough surface. And
you know what
like
we didn't mention?
They're so beautiful.
If you want to do this. So what we didn't touch on a whole bunch, you did a little bit about the low deck. If you're insisting on doing a low deck for some reason, there are framing options that won't rot away. You can do it with the steel framing or aluminum framing or composite framing or whatever. There are options out there for managing that. But one product we didn't talk about from Old Castle is, what's it called? Instadeck, I think.
Yeah.
So they've got these essentially plastic grids.
Yes.
That you still base prep the same as if you were doing a patio. So you still want to excavate and put in your base. But then on top of that, you put on these grids that the decking snaps into. So now you've got this moisture-proof underlayment or like substructure that the decking snaps into these grids because the grids have the clips kind of built into them. So you just step and snap the decking into it.
Yep.
And then you can get the decking plank look at ground level. And the way they've built it is, I think the finished surface of it essentially ends up being, I think the grid must be like 1 3/8 inches thick or something like that.
Must be.
And then the decking's 1 inch, so it lines up perfectly with the thickness of the typical Belgard or any brand of paver.
Yeah, your 60
residential
pavers.
Yep. So that's an option too. If you really insist on the plank look and see if you can find some Instadeck tiles.
If only there was one store that did both.
Right?
Everywhere. What a great idea. We should do that.
All right, everybody. Hope that helps. We'll talk to you again next week. Take it easy.